And we're back with episode 46 of Dog Football Weekly. It's your host, Reed, with your co-host,
Russ.
And Russ. Back-to-back episodes, back-to-back days. Felt like we need to jump back into it again tonight. Some big news actually just came out. I actually got a text from my pitching coach, Blake Schaus, about this. But running back Roderick Robinson dealing with a toe injury, and also Trevor Etienne possibly suspended for Saturday's game. Russ, what does this mean for the Georgia running back room? What implications does this have on the game? How do you feel right now hearing this?
Obviously, this is a big hit for us. Hopefully, why is Trevor being suspended? Do you know?
He had that DUI in the spring. You remember?
Yeah.
I think there's kind of some internal punishment.
Well, if there's some internal punishment, that makes you think, Kirby doesn't think we need him that first game, to be honest with you. If there's so that just shows you a lot about, Georgia's punishing players and whatnot. But I think this running back room, you feel like it's kind of thin, but there's some guys down the line that can play ball, and I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah, when I read this possible depth chart for the game, for what we know we have, you have Branson Robinson, who hasn't taken a snap since that touchdown he scored in the 2023 Natty against TCU. Nate Frazier and Cash Jones, Russ. That's your running back room right now. That's what you definitely have week one this weekend. And that kind of makes me like, Branson hadn't had a live hit in a long time. Worried about him, worried to see him be a feature back, going from nothing to just all out. Worried how that's going to look, but also at the same time, I think Trevor's going to be there, dressed out, ready to go. I think Kirby Smart knows you can't punish the team necessarily for one guy's actions. I mean, it's like what Mike Gundy said about Ollie Gordon and Ollie Gordon's DUI. He said he's going to give him the ball 50 times week one. That's his punishment because he didn't feel like punishing the team. And I feel like that's kind of not saying Trevor Etienne's going to get it 50 times, but heck, he might.
Well, and you never know. Kirby may be confident in Branson running the ball.
Yeah.
I've always, you kind of just hear about him and you never really see him. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's playing at the D1 level at Georgia. You got to be somewhat good to stay on the team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all I got on that.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting. I really haven't heard too many things about Trevor Etienne's suspension until today. It seems like today everybody was just like, is this guy playing? Is this like, I feel like this should have been discussed, a couple of weeks out. But, it's Tuesday night and we got people like running around with chickens with their head cut off. Is this Trevor Etienne playing? And it's everywhere I look. But more importantly, I got a really, really important question for you about Saturday's game. Give me an offensive and defensive standout player on both sides of the ball. Maybe somebody that you're not, or that people may not be expecting to stand out for this Georgia team. But give me a guy.
I'm gonna go for offense. I'm gonna go Dylan Bell.
Mm-hmm. That was my pick.
That was your pick. I'm sorry about that. We can talk about it together anyway. Arguably, top one, top two receiver on the team. He's my favorite receiver personally. I don't know. I'm just excited to see him play and see what we've been doing in the off season with him. I'm sure there's going to be some special stuff for him. Maybe, I think we did a little bit of that last year where we put him in the backfield and he was all over the field. Anyway,
Yeah.
for defensive, I mean, everybody knows who he is, but I'm going Smell London, leader of the defense. I'm excited to watch him this year and see, how he's progressed. And I don't know, I'm excited for the defensive side of the ball this year.
Yeah. I think those are two good picks right there. Offensively, since you took Dylan Bell, I'll take another one, but just to focus on Bell for a second. He's like the Swiss Army knife of this offense. He can really do whatever you need him to do. He's great in space. He's great out of the backfield. He's very stocky. Not an incredibly tall guy, not incredibly long, but a very, very solid runner in the backfield and poses a different threat that you really don't have. He's like Deebo Samuel to me, and I say that a lot. And we all know how great of a college athlete Deebo Samuel was and how great of an NFL player Deebo's turned out to be. But Dylan Bell, I mean, he looks pretty similar to what Deebo did at South Carolina. But for my offensive breakout player or my offensive impact player, I'm going to go with a guy who you really haven't heard a lot about. He's offensive line, but I keep hearing great things about him. I'm going with your right guard, Dylan Fairchild. He's not going to get the ball. You're not going to hear his name called at all. If you do hear his name called, he probably gave up a sack or a holding penalty or blocking the back. This guy can ball. This guy's been sitting for a while. Played a lot last year. Really made a name for himself. I think he's maybe the second best guard in America behind Tate Ratledge, and they're on the same team. This guy this guy didn't come in as a starter right away. This guy worked. He's been on your scout team for a little while, leading up into last season. Then he got on the field a lot. I think this guy's the truth. I think this guy's legit. I think he's going to show out on the offensive line in the center. I'm really excited to see him play right guard. And then defensively, it's tough to pick a defensive guy to break out. I'm going to pick a guy I picked to break out really early in the year last year who never really got a chance, never really got an opportunity to get in the groove. Jalen Walker, number 11, outside linebacker, kind of defensive end. Edge rusher, definitely on the smaller side for an edge rusher, but he has unbelievable hands, unbelievable footwork. He's super fast. He's been playing great ball. Last year in the SEC championship game against Alabama, he really embarrassed Caden Proctor on a couple plays, and I think that's a really good sign, embarrassing a high-profile guy like that. But really looking forward to seeing him. I think he's going to have a great game this weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited about those edge rushers.
Excited about this defensive line. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they're going to do up front with Stackhouse. Excited to see that guy 78 out there again. But Russ, I think we're about 8 minutes into this show. Got a couple questions for you. We're going to play a little game. Games are really ramping up this weekend. I'm going to give you a list of some things. I want you to tell me if they're overrated on one end or overhated. We can talk about teams, mascots, traditions, players, coaches, anything in the sport. All right, you ready?
Okay.
Just going to give you.
All right, I'm ready.
Just going to give you some. Going to go all over the place with this one. First one I'm going to give you. As an atmosphere, is Michigan Stadium, the Big House, is it overrated or overhated?
I'm going to say overhated. I think playing in the Big House is something kind of special. As much as I don't like Michigan, I think that atmosphere is something that is not created anywhere else in college football. To the level that it is. I don't think it's overrated at all playing there.
I think we're 0 for 1 on first one on disagreeing already. Personally, I think the Big House is so overrated. The stadium's great. It's fantastic and huge. Problem is it's not very tall, and it didn't go up very high. So the problem is you don't get a great echo in there. So I don't think, for everything I read about the Big House, is that it's not very loud. And I think, crowd intensity and noise is something that really, is a key factor in making it something a great environment. And if you don't have that, I don't really know what you got. So I'm gonna go with overrated on the Big House. Second pick, second one I'm gonna give you. All right, and we're going to go two back to back, kind of tie into one another. First one is the Colorado Buffaloes.
That's overrated, overhated. That's all you got? Colorado Buffaloes?
The University of Colorado Buffaloes, the football team.
I think they're overrated. I mean, you're probably going to disagree with me on that one too. I mean, but I don't think they're a great football team. I mean, Deion's done a lot over there, and he's brought a lot of recruits in, and a lot of people followed him from where he coached Jackson State.
Yeah, and then he coached high school for that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just think, it's having, his family on the team and stuff is kind of just overhyped. I mean, Shadur's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pretty good quarterback.
He's legit.
He's legit. I mean, I just don't think that they're, like, as good as everybody thinks they are. And, ooh, Deion's got a chance this year. Deion, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have a chance at all.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I think they're the most overrated team, organization, unit, and in all of college sports. In my lifetime, in my time watching college football, I've never seen a team get so much attention that is so bad, but so much good, positive, like media attention. Like they're debating. You're turning on the TV and they're debating like Colorado this, Colorado that, and it's like this team won. They won 4 games last year, and then they're not going to win very. Maybe they get to 6 this year, maybe. But I'm not banking on it. I think they'll be right around that 3, 4, 5 win range, right in that area again. I mean, and I don't, I think our next one's going to answer this question a little more, so I'm not going to spoil what I was about to say. But I think they're extremely overrated. I think they're, as a football team, not a great team. I think they have some individual personalities on the team that are bigger almost than the team, which I think causes some issues when you're not that great. And I don't think that's those players' fault. So I think you just have some really great players like Shedeur Sanders on a team, Travis Hunter on a team. These guys are like A-list players, A-list celebrities in college football. And when you have these big-time guys on these not-so-great teams, they kind of stand out and kind of outshine your team here. And, I think that causes problems. And I think that causes the team to be just overrated in general because everybody's like, oh, they got Shedeur on offense and they got Travis on defense. I mean, this team's got to be the best. They got the 2 best players in the country. They got to be the best team in the country. And you're like, whoa, pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, I saw a video. It was Deion talking to the team at practice, and he was like, everybody's live, but you're going to stay away from Travis.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have that kind of, like, he's not a quarterback. He's not, that just seems like bad energy to me on a team. That seems like he's better than everybody on the team probably, but you can't just go out and single him out and say he's, better than everybody else because he's this and that. I mean, you got to be a team at some point. Yeah,
I feel you on that. My next question is going to be Deion Sanders, overrated, overhated. This is probably going to be the toughest one as a coach, or as whatever he is at Colorado. I don't general manager coach as the face of Colorado football. What do you think about Deion?
I think Deion I think he's good for college football. I think him being the face of something makes people excited about Colorado. That's why they think they're so good, because he's the face of it. It gets people around the area excited.
Yeah.
Do I think he's a great coach? No. I think obviously he was a better player than he was a coach, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's good to have a guy like him in college football. I mean, he gets people excited and worked up, and everybody. I mean, some people hate him, some people love him. I mean, that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, this is probably the toughest one for me, because I think he is he on one end of the spectrum. There are people out there who hate everything Deion Sanders does and don't give him credit about anything. But there are people who think every move he's made is wrong. And whether people want to admit it or not, the University of Colorado is getting just what they want. They're getting a lot of publicity. They're selling tickets. They're selling merch. They're making money off this experience. I don't know, because they signed him to that big old contract. But I think they're making money off this experiment. But also at the same time, the college football world, and I say the world, I say ESPN mainly, put Deion on a pedestal at Colorado, and they still have him up there. And I think it's too soon. So I'm going to go with overrated on Deion, but just slightly, with how much hate he gets. I think it's honestly fairly even, because he gets so much from both sides. But, I can remember last year when Colorado started the year 3-0. I mean, they beat a TCU team at TCU. Impressive win. They beat Nebraska at home. Okay. It's Nebraska. They play Colorado State, a group of 5 team, and win, and it wasn't in overtime, but it was towards the end of the game where they finally got ahead and won the game, and people were like, and they're going into a game against Oregon, who, by the way, if nobody remembers, Oregon just dismantled them on national TV and made them look silly. But people were saying, when Nick Saban retires, Deion's the guy to follow. Alabama needs to go get Deion. Deion's this, is Colorado a playoff team? Is Colorado going to be a this and that? And it was kind of like, whoa, hold on now. So I would say he's slightly overrated a little bit, but I do see. My main concern with Deion Sanders is I don't know what his main goal is at Colorado. I don't know if his goal is to make Colorado popular or if his goal is to win games. And I think that's kind of lost in that team, is that you've got so many. The problem is that they're not building up a roster, really. They're just going and buying a roster, which in the short term may help you win more games now, but in the long term, I think it's going to really hurt the culture and the program. When I think of Deion Sanders at Colorado, I think of the video last year. It's the tight ends coach. He's since retired, I think. I got to show you this video tomorrow at school. It's the funniest video in the world, because they just have this tight ends coach who comes in the room and yells. He's like, stand up. And they all stand up and he goes, sit down. Stand up. Sit down. Stand up. Sit down. He goes, we coming. And they just all, he goes, I said we coming. And he's like, I said we coming. And it's just like pointless and mindless. And instead of just doing it so they can get on video, I feel like, and show it to, put it on Twitter and put it on Instagram. And that's where I kind of feel like Deion is overrated a little bit, because sometimes, like Dan Lanning said, they're fighting for clicks, we're fighting for wins, that famous quote. And I think that's part of it, honestly, is kind of true. Sometimes is what it feels like over there. But also, I think he's a genius and has done a fantastic job marketing that team, creating a brand for that team. I couldn't tell you a single Colorado football player before last year on the roster in a long time besides Laviska Shenault, because he played on the Jaguars and was not very good. But I couldn't tell you a single Colorado player on that team that I know and remember. And now it's I know that guy. I know those guys. I'm going to turn on the game and watch it if they're playing TV. I don't care if they're 1-11. I'm going to turn it, or 1-10. I'm going to turn it on and watch them play because I'm interested because they're exciting sometimes. There's excitement around that program, and I think he's done a great job with that. So kind of in the middle on Dion, definitely a tough one. My last one I'm going to give you is Dabo Swinney. Overrated, overhated.
I think Dabo is. I think he's overhated, and I say that because he's a great coach, and he's coached a lot of great players, and he's won a lot of games. I mean, he is. Before the past couple of years, you would say Dabo is, up there on the ranks of best coaches in college football.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he gets a lot of hate because they've been struggling the past couple of years. They haven't really had the guys. In my opinion, they haven't really had, some super athletes on their team to lead them to victory. And I think he catches a lot of hate for that. And I think he's a good coach. I do think he's kind of on his way out.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that means going somewhere else in coaching, but maybe going to a smaller school or, I don't know, maybe going and being a defense coordinator, an offense coordinator somewhere else might be a good thing for him.
Yep.
But I think he's overhated. I like Dabo.
Yep. I struggle with this one too because if you asked me a few years back, is Dabo Swinney overrated? I probably would have said slightly a little overrated, but he's the most overhated coach in college football. People forget this guy won Clemson 2 national championships, was in 4 national championships, took them to they won the conference I felt like they won for at least 7, I think 8 years in a row they won the conference. I mean, nobody else could touch the ACC. After Florida State went to the Natty and won their Natty, Clemson took over. And actually, I think Florida State won one more year for that. But Clemson took over the ACC and didn't let it go until after COVID. And, that's all because of him. And when you look at Dabo Swinney, you got to look at him for what he is and not what he isn't. Dabo Swinney's never been a great recruiter. People are just now finding out Dabo's just kind of a very average recruiter as far as high school talent goes. By the numbers, by the statistics from 247 Sports, he's not signing all 5 stars in his classes, and he always has a good class, never a great top 5, top 3 class, usually in that I'd say 8 to 20 range. But he's lived there for the past 15 years as coach. And it hadn't been an issue because of his development, because of his talent development, and because of the buy-in he has, because he is such a great motivator. Still think he is. I think he's very great as far as molding men and shaping men and getting teams bought in. But the problem is that I think Dabo Swinney is stubborn in that he's choosing not to adapt in this modern age where the game's changing so much, so fast. And I think that's where he's kind of losing his edge. Is that he doesn't want to use the portal, which I think is fair. I think that's fine. But if you're not going to use the portal, you're going to have to go get the best guys out of high school, somehow find a way to keep them, somehow do all, and he's not doing that either. So because, Georgia's not out just getting every guy they can in the portal. Georgia just goes and gets a select few every year. They go fill a couple spots. Usually have guys compete for some stuff. I mean, we got a backup quarterback, Jaden Rashada. I mean, guys like that. But also you got the Miami kid, the receiver, Kobe Young, guys like that who are going to play some roles on this team. But Dabo's not getting guys out the portal, and for that, I think like you said, I think he is on the way out. But I don't think he deserves the hate he's getting, even from inside his own fan base. People are saying this guy's got to go, this guy's got to do this guy's got to do that. And in my mind, it's No, I think when you win 2 natties somewhere and you beat Nick Saban, I think you can kind of do what you want.
Yeah.
But listen, Russ.
Yeah.
Oh, you go ahead.
Well, I'm good. I was just going to reiterate a little bit.
You go ahead. I'm letting you. You got the floor.
What I was going to say is I think that as a coach in college football right now, if you are not going to use the transfer portal to your advantage, that your football team is probably not going to be successful unless you are the number 1 team in the nation right now.
Yeah, for sure.
If you can't recruit guys out of high school, then you're not gonna. I mean, your team's not gonna succeed unless you go get guys and get talent out. I mean, it just blows my mind that some people wouldn't use that aspect of the game.
Yeah, I don't think any coach is out there dying to go try and, not one, protect your own talent from being taken by these other teams, but also have to go, after recruiting high school kids year round, have to go try and poach and try and get kids. Now you got freshmen, sophomore, junior starters everywhere. You're trying to go get them now too. It's like doubling your recruiting workload almost sometimes, and it's in a blink of an eye. But I feel like you have to do it. I think the best teams at it are the teams that have a great blend of both. And I think Georgia has. I think Kirby Smart has I'm not going to say perfected, but I think he's gotten close with this team as far as, like, they're not going and getting 25 big-name transfers just to be like, and I'm not going to say Ohio State is doing that, but, it feels like with that Ohio State roster. Lane Kiffin reposted a tweet yesterday that said how Ohio State got its $20 million roster. And, I mean, and there's some truth behind that with NIL money and money being spent, but, they're building teams that are working for them more than anything else, and they're not really worried about the outside narrative. And I think that's going to help pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
But listen, Russ, thanks for joining me tonight. That's going to do it for today's episode of Dog Football Weekly. We hope you enjoy.